video before I take this thing apart. It's listed under the page as a mobile holiday light show, computer synchronized. So obviously it's mobile because it's in the back of my truck. I do say it's not a parade float because, well, pretty much I drove probably like 2,500 miles this year. Take it up close. See on the sign it says powered by X lights. That's the software that does all the computer synchronizing of my lights. And around with the display, you got LED strips in the presence. There's regular lights inside the presence. You can't see now. All these are lit up with LEDs, addressable. You got the bed wash. There's a little light there that was lighting up my sign. The blow molds had a little matrix in the back. See, it's just a bunch of little LEDs in there. They're all computer controlled. Kind of see that one lighting up a little bit. Got a light bright from way back when. That's lit up with the pixels. There's a little boat in there. That guy's getting a headache because my subwoofer has been pounding on his head all day, the whole time. But other candlesticks here, blow modes. Alright. So this is the software X lights. That's the mapping of all my lights on the display. That's when you put the song and you put your effects in, you build the timeline, and that's what's running everything. Then you go to, this is the X schedule, which is built in the web interface. This is where it's controlled. And then go up here. So this is sitting on the front seat of my truck, and then I can just switch between driving music, my regular music, night driving, which was just no music, and I had a parade mix, which is just all fast songs. That's hooked up with a 12-volt charger. It's hooked up. This is powered off my amp, which comes off the battery, because as we know, the 12-volt outlets time out after like 15 minutes. I got this. It's just a little remote I made. Got 2 voltmeters. One is the truck voltage, the other one is the display voltage, and I'll show you why. I got an LED to tell me that it's running off the truck right now. This switch was for the amp. Turn that on.
It's time to do the Christmas.
That's it. The other switch was my FM transmitter. So if I shut my truck off, yeah, you see my truck is reading lower. I got like 0.9. It's hard to tell the difference here. The sun's not helping me either. Anyway, the batteries are almost 13 still, and so I know my relay's disconnected. So you see it says tune to 1033. That was the FM transmitter station I was broadcasting on. Well, cars could follow me. They could listen to the music that the lights were synchronized to. A couple of people did and sent me the videos. It was kind of cool. It's just a standard one a lot of people use. Antenna, the transmitter, with the little extension cord, and it has a bulkhead fitting, so I just put it through a stainless steel washer, glued it on to the present, kind of hides. Nobody really notices on there. See the amplifier, which is for the speakers that are on board. Capacitor, just because of so much distance from the batteries, I figured it would help the amplifier work a little better. And I got the battery charger right there. It's a 4-bank battery charger. And way back here is where the power comes in from the truck, and then power from the batteries meets up. There's first 2 relays switch between the truck and the batteries. The next 4 disconnect the batteries so the bank charger can charge them individually. There are my batteries. is 4 Group 31 deep cycle, 105 amp hour batteries. They've lasted 10, 11, 12 hours easy, not a problem. I know you're probably thinking the wiring's a little light, but they're 12 gauge on each one, so has an effective gauge of 6, which is plenty going from here to there. And on this side, I got all my power supplies. The little square ones are for the 12 volt buck converters. The bigger ones are for AC. Just some fusing. The little one there is the 12 volt for the FM transmitter. And there's just some wall warts there. One of the bottom one is for the FM transmitter when it's on AC. The other two, one of them is keeping the capacitor charged because it has a special charging thing, so it's just easier to keep it charged. The other one is working the relays, which are right there. So when it goes on AC, it switches, that's on the 5 volt side. It switches over from the DC buck converters to the AC power supplies. So here's my Falcon. This is driving my Pixels. You see there's only data coming out of it. Power is all handled off the board. Nothing, no power is handled on. You see the black wire that's grounding back to my power supplies. Over there, and then it goes down the whole length of the line, so everything has got one ground connecting everything to keep all the data running good. It's got its own power supply, which is fed off that capacitor, so that when the relays are transferring, the board doesn't reboot. It has just enough power to take over the time it takes the relay to switch. And there's the USB to Ethernet. It was a USB hub. I was going to make a controller, but I just ran out of time. That's why there's a hub in there, otherwise it wouldn't be. My sound blaster was the digital audio converter, and then it goes analog from here over to the amp on the other side. And then those are just the board relays for the amplifier and charging and whatnot. And over here, so the analog comes in, it wires to go to the transmitter. I had to put a ground loop isolator because I was getting noise. And then it splits again for the amplifier, just because the bridge to channels, it required it to be this way. It's got built-in crossover network on this one. That's why I used it for my subwoofer. And those relays there, one is for the FM transmitter for the remote. The other 3 are for charging. And this is the voltage detection switch. When the truck reads a certain voltage, then it switches over to power off the truck. Then I had another switch here, which just was the amp bypass, so I could have the lights on AC and turn the amp back on, disconnect the batteries from charge and put the amp back on if I wanted to use the sound in the yard. Light switch here just turns on the lights up there. And obviously my cord, plug this in when I get home and I recharge my batteries, and keeps everything good. So I repainted the inside and made it a lot cleaner. You can see the wiring up there for all the pixels. I don't know why that light flickers, it just does it. And all that right there. And I guess that's about it for in here. Trying to see how the structure is built. It's just a big crate that goes in, held in with turnbuckles, and obviously the tree trunk is a steel pipe going right through the middle, right from the bottom, supported by the middle, and then it's held with no wires or anything else. You can see the steel trunk. There's my speakers right there. I got Bose 151 outdoor environmental speakers. It goes up, and that's my tray. I forgot to mention the outlet. I just put it there because I didn't know if I'd ever have the computer back here for any reason. This here is feeding the pixel floods under the truck, the 3-wire. I used all these connectors this year instead of the JSDM plugs. I didn't think I need waterproof, but I have a lot of dielectric grease in there. And I think it makes it easier to disconnect things when it's done that way. You see they're used all up in there, all over the place. I use them for hooking up my props. All the data wires. I have my Falcon hardwired to my computer instead of doing a wireless because I thought it would be difficult to keep a wireless network on the truck. Then the other, I have a Sound Blaster 3 in the back, and I did USB over Ethernet, and I, at a convenience, used the Cat 5 again for that remote. So that's 3 Cat 5s. Put a hole in my firewall, and everything passes through. Here's how my data cables came through. I had it sealed against the firewall with hot glue. There's adhesive lined heat shrink, and I have all hot glue between the wires, so it was all sealed tight, and then the gland can seal against the heat shrink, and I had that over the top, so that's how it was coming through and feeding down below. Can't really see, but you kind of see how it's sealed up in there. It was good, nothing leaked. Probably thinking, oh my god, you blew a hole in your firewall. Now I lost my hole. There it is. But don't worry, I'm gonna put this one in its place for the off season. And I have a stainless steel cap screw that it can seal against, so my hole will be all sealed up. Just beautiful for the season. Here's my dummy gland all installed to seal up the hole in my firewall. So this is the permanent feed for the display. It's gonna stay in my truck forever now. The 100 amp marine relay. I like this one because you can do this, and now it's off, so for the rest of the season I can leave the wire that's going down my frame not energized, and it just hooks into the battery under here. So now whatever, it's hooked in. It's 4 gauge cable. So that main power is right here. I put on a winch type plug, and the wires are going up. There's a hole in the front of the bed, and the wires feed through. I assume it's some kind of camper idea, so you can feed wires to your camper. And obviously there's one of my pixel floods there. There's another one right there. So there's 2 in between the axles. There's one in front of the axles and one behind the axles. So then we'll just get this little rubber boot goes on top of it for the season. Rest is connected. All my data lines are pulled back. My lines feeding my pixel floods are back. Those are the ones that were power injecting the other side of the pixel floods. You see the power cable that was plugged in under the truck, I've pulled back inside here now. That was a 4 gauge jumper cable. Gave me a nice 2-wire zip together, so it makes it easy to use. And guess I'll grab my machine and pull this thing out. Got my turnbuckles disconnected, and I'll pull this thing out of the truck and set it on the ground. There it is, coming out of the truck. Fork extenders. Forks aren't quite long enough. That's the third support right there. With the extenders, I'm all the way up to the last support. There's the turnbuckles that were holding it in, and those were the holes that were in the bed from the factory. I just pulled out the plastic plugs, fed my cables through. Alright, there it is. Picked it up with my machine instead of the truck. Just for fun, I decided to turn the lights on, because, you know, why not? Because I can. Because it runs on batteries. Huh. It's great. Fun time. So, you see, that's kind of how it's built. Diagonal brace to keep the tree trunk, which is centered between this and this. You can see it's all well reinforced. Those 2 are what's keeping it. Diagonal bracing holding it. Plywood even stronger. Just a bulkhead board Yes, it's a used piece of plywood. Kill me for it. Weather stripping. Last year it was a little more wet than I thought it would be, so I added this skirt to try and get the water to drip down instead of following back. I added this weather stripping. See how my bed wash lights were. There's a strip light in there. It's 106 pixels long. And powered on both ends. Power goes from there to the middle of the strip, so there's 4 injection points in that strip, like power injection. And they just feed in there. There's the bolts that hold it down. They go all the way through. The upper one is countersunk so the plywood can clear. I know I didn't finish painting out there. Killed me for that too. Didn't paint that either. Ran out of time. See how things are kind of bolted down and whatnot. There's the power. There's my cord. It was a jumper cable at one point where everything came through. Bottom. Had to space it up a little bit. When I added these, I didn't want them to be higher than that, so I had to raise it up that little bit for the bracket to clear. That's why there's that plywood under there. Fender washers, make sure my tree doesn't rip through. 3/4 inch plywood. Bottom. Here you can see the 2 voltmeters working now. Obviously the green one is the battery voltage that's on the display, and since now it's disconnected from the truck is, that side's reading 0. If any of my relays were just stick, then obviously they'd both be reading the same voltage. So I know the relay's disconnected and didn't have to worry about it killing my truck. So in case you're wondering why I decided to go with all 5-volt pixels, I know 5 volt, so much power injection, blah, blah, blah. Well, for the most part, this is easier to find in 5-volt versions. That 12-volt one is actually a buck boost. They're not quite as common, a little harder to find, whereas these are just buck. They take 8 to 40 volts and make 5. I could have went an inverter and then just powered those off the inverter, but inverters are brutal on your electrical system, and it doesn't make sense to go from 12 volts DC to 110 AC to 5 volts DC again. And I didn't do the 12 volt pixels because when the truck is running, you're at 13.8 to 14.2, which is a little too much. I know a lot of guys even had to turn their 12 volt power supplies down to 11.8. So obviously I would have cooked my 12 volt pixels just running them straight off the electric. Even when these batteries are fully charged, they're putting out 12.8. So it would have roasted the pixels up. So I did it my way, 5 volts. And I have a lot of power injection just because, like I said before, that's the way I like to do it. I am a fan of power injection. Everything is power injected. Those border up there, they start here in the middle. They're fed on this end, they're fed power at this end. You see, there's the actual wire, 16 gauge landscape wire. And then this one is just the data continuing inside in case I needed it for something, which I didn't, but anyway. Same, you know, my strips are powered on both ends, they're powered in the middle. Everything, the tree is power injected every 50 pixels. There's a wire feeding the tree. So here it is, ready to go in the garage now. Got my casters on there so I can roll it around when it's inside. And now we'll put it inside. So there's my new door. Just got it hung last night so I could put the tree in. Don't mind my propane tank, that's just there. I got it for free, so I'm using it up, burning off the gas for heat. Nice little barn door type of thing. It'll slide right in front of my slider. Pretty cool because, open it up. And now, I got a full height door. As high as the ceiling is, that's how much room I got. Now I can fit my Christmas tree right in there. 2 years ago, I had a 7-foot roll-up door, And I thought I would tip the tree over to get it out, and then I put so much work into it I couldn't risk it, so I hacked the door out, and it took me 2 years to get it done, but whatever, it's done. Pretty cool. Pink and green colors of my house. Pink and green, love it. Got a 9-foot high ceiling, and as you can see, it needs every bit of that just to make it in the door. So it's 9 feet plus sitting in the bed of my truck. There's probably another 4 close to it. So here it is inside the garage. Doing this thing, I couldn't resist having to play with it a little bit more. Same cables that were going before, just hooked up to my computer, running my show. So here's my pixel floods. As you can see, I got the 2 wires going to the 1 gland with the seal them. They got a hot glue in between, piece of heat shrink, so there's something round for the seal to grab onto and seal really well. The bracket has some hot glue under there to keep the plastic from vibrating and cracking. And then there it is, plastic cover. They stayed all dry. All 8 of them were dry. And I went with these instead of regular floodlights because I needed a 5-volt solution because I have a 5-volt display. And turns out these actually work pretty good with the, you put the sparkles on there, you can actually see it in the pools of light under the truck. And also, like, the plasma effect looks pretty nice on them, having the individual pixels like that acting as a floodlight. 21 pixels. Also, when I wired these, the power and the ground come in, they connect together. They don't actually run through the string of pixels, so the power can jump from one to the next without going through the strand of pixels. And both ends of the strand are connected to power, so plenty of power injection fed by both ends of the strand. And yeah, they worked out pretty good. I like these. They work nice onto my truck. Really look good. For the winter, I just put my pixel floods under there. This way when I program some more this year, I can see what they're doing, how they're working. And then my other lights there. A little bit more I noticed it on there. Presents that I made, got a little condensation in it. Got pixel lights inside, got strip lighting for the ribbons. There's some pixels under there to light up the nose. Bulbs that were converted to pixels, there's 3 pixels in each one. One more thing on my lights. The only wiring that's loose on the table or visible to be seen. I just thought it would look kind of fun, being that they're lights. They're supposed to have a wire. They used a green extension cord, but I cut the end and drilled it through, so actually that is just there as a decoration, but to make it look like it's plugged into the prop, stand, or whatever you want to call that. Just thought it'd be a fun little detail if somebody was close and looking. Not there. Need to do something better with the Bears ribbon next year, but at least he had one. The ball is nothing but a globe. Got pixels in it, and I just threw the black on there and make it look like a soccer ball. Light bright. The light bright also serves as a chase. The wiring to get up into the tray. You got the wire for the subwoofer. You got the old wire power and data for the pixels. Going up in there. Christmas bulbs just on here, tied around the branches. They all did pretty good. Did have one casualty. I think it was rather recent because I just noticed it, but somebody broke my balls. A lot of people have been breaking my balls when I post, but whatever. Here's my star. It's a wireframe decoration thing I found on Amazon, and I tied all pixels inside of it in groups of 3. So there's 60 pixels in there, and then I just put some shiny garland over it to hide all the wiring and everything. Kind of lost the points on the star, so it turned into a ball, but alright. Kind of good. The points on there protect the pixels from tree branches. This thing is like 12.5 feet tall when it's in my truck, so keeps them all protected from getting whacked by the branches. Never had a problem with the pixels in there for 2 seasons now, so it must be doing its job. And the other thing is they got a little rusty. The garland, I guess, is not good for outdoors and made them get a little rusty. Also filled up with water. That's about it. My display. Matrix. All these pixels came from Amazon, the cheapest ones I could find. Had no casualties this year with the pixels. Last year only 1 pixel lost green channel. Just replaced the 1 pixel, didn't replace the one before or after, and everything's fine. Even these panels were from Amazon. The strip lighting was all from Amazon, all Amazon, cheapest I could buy.